Mister.
Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is lap guide for round 4 of the GR Supra GT Cup on Circuit de la Sarthe. Let's get this started. Just a quick note, I'll have the replay saved in my GTSport profile, which I'll link on the card above or down below. Go out about half throttle through this turn because you'll need to start to brake immediately after you finish this turn. Your braking point will be at the first total sign that you approach. Brake as much as you can so you can smoothly go through these two turns. Once you hit the first apex, go at half throttle. In between the turns, go at full throttle, and when you hit the second apex, go at half throttle, and when you're about to clear the turn, you can start to fully accelerate. Start to brake just shortly after you pass the end of the track that's on your right. You want to brake as much as you can because once you start to turn, you want to step off of the brake and slowly start to accelerate. If you're using manual transmission and you're on 4th, you can short shift into 5th. That way you can take the next turn without having to worry as much about spinning out. Once you start to turn, apply the brakes for a moment. This will cause the car to slide a little bit, but if you do this right, you'll be able to hit the apex and go at full throttle almost immediately after. If you want to be a bit more careful, you can smoothly accelerate. That way you can make sure that you have as much grip as you can. Another note, and this has to do with the track limits. So it's a little weird for this track because there are some turns where you can ride the curb and get away with it, but there are other ones where if you do that, you get penalized. So you want to experiment around with and find out which turns you can take advantage of and which turns you want to be careful with. Start to brake just before you reach the 200-meter mark. As you start to turn, you can ease off on the brakes just a little to let your car turn more. Try to get your car pointing towards the next part of the straightaway as fast as you can, that way you can start to accelerate. However, if you're a little brave, you can start to accelerate just before you start to point towards the straight, but be aware that the car might want to fishtail, so get ready to catch your car in case it wants to do that. Brake just after passing the 200-meter mark. You can also use the area where the grass turns into dirt as your braking point. This chicane is a little sharper than the one prior, so you want to slow down a little more for the turn, and you want to smoothly accelerate your way out. Try not to accelerate too suddenly because if you do that, you'll risk losing control. Brake just barely before you reach the last dashed line. By braking as much as you can here, you have some space to adjust your braking as you approach the turn. Once your car is starting to point towards the next straightaway, you can start to fully accelerate. Start to brake before you reach the green area on your left. You'll do very hard braking here, that way you can just glide through this turn. After that turn, you can go at full throttle for a moment before you need to brake hard again. Once you're approaching the apex, you can go at about half throttle, and when you're clearing the turn, you can go at full throttle. Brake before you reach the 50-meter mark. This should give you plenty of space to make the turn and accelerate your way out. Go at half throttle when you're at the apex, and go at full throttle when your car is about to point towards the next straightaway, but make sure you get ready to catch your car in case it wants to start spinning out. brake before you reach the green area again. You want to be careful with how you accelerate through this turn. So go at about half throttle, and once you clear a turn, you can go at full throttle for a moment before you need to reduce your acceleration again for the next turn. Just tap on the brakes for this turn so that way you can get a little more control and be able to get closer to the apex. Just after this turn, you can accelerate for just barely a moment before you need to tap on the brakes again and just control your acceleration. And once again, just tap on the brakes and go at half throttle to this turn. You can start to fully accelerate when your car is pointing straight or when you feel comfortable enough to do so. Brake when you're between the track that leads to the pit stop. You can go at full throttle in between the turns, but just be careful to not ride too much of the curb, that way you won't get a penalty. Get your car in the middle so that way you can brake before you reach the curb on the right. Take the first turn easy so that way you can start to fully accelerate once you hit the second apex and you should be good to go. And that's all for the guide. Once again, the video from GTSport is on the card and in the description below, but here's the non-commentary versions. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Mr. MCA, the world's most OK player, and I'll see you in the next video.